Y'all, before we even get into it, this ain't just a podcast. This us talking to the block, to the moms, to the homies lost, to the ones fighting demons in silence, to the kings and queens that forgot their crown. We four brothers coming straight from mud, hitting the web not for clout but for purse bills. We them night brothers, speaking truth to the mic, shining through the struggle, bringing dark to the light. Block to your soul, let the message ignite. Podcast for the people, every word take flight. Gritty like the grind, hell first we strive. Social heat in the streets, trying to keep hope alive. 4 mics, 1 mission, make the people revive. It's the night time, tune in, feel the vibe. We 4 deep like corners on the block, mics hot in the lab, cooking truth non-stop, no gimmicks. This ain't clickbait chatter, this heartbeat, struggling soul, blacker than batter. Got fam trying to heal, broke bills on the table. Talk health, mental wealth, if we able, we enable. From the hood to the web, we built this escape. Tired of seeing kings trapped in a lowercase fake. Click clack on the keys, we ain't just pie, we preach it. Street slang, health hacks, real talk preaching. See the system rigged, trying to cage our minds, but we cracking the code like it's Columbine. I'm the brother with the blueprint, knowledge in my stash. Turn trauma to armor, pain into cash. 1 mic, 4 voices, no filters, no mask. We ain't just streaming, we building that path. We them night brothers, speaking truth to the mic, shining through the struggle, bringing dark to the light. Block to your soul, let the message ignite. Podcast for the people, every word take flight. Gritty like the grind, health first we strive. Social heat in the street, trying to keep hope alive. 4 mics, 1 mission, make the people revive. It's the nighttime, tune in, feel the vibe.
Oh yeah, 4 mics, 1 mission. Nighttime, not nighttime.
I seen young blood.
What's going on, my brothers? Welcome to the show. Natural, what's going on, my brother? Good to have your face in
peace and love, man. Just stepped off the phone, man. Got in here right in time.
Absolutely, man. Well, what's going on, Kevin? What's going on, Dre? What's going on, David?
What's going on, brothers?
What's going on, good people? Glad to be in the middle.
Yes, sir.
We are here.
Yeah, well, first of all, this is the Night Brothers Show, the show where your opinion matters. Welcome, Margaret Nick, to the show. As you come on board, just give us a shout out and say hello so we can give you some love. We say this is a show where your opinion matters because truly it does. We welcome your comments and questions, and we actually like and share as you come on board. Hey, Natural, we got a brother who's returned to us tonight, Mr. Andre Dillard, man. And Andre, well, first of all, welcome back, man. I want to say that properly. Welcome back.
Hey, well, look, let me jump in right there real quick, just for 1 second. Well, we gotta just say what it is. We have Master Dillard in the house. That's what I just want to welcome Master Dillard back to the place to be.
Lenny, cue it up, Lenny.
This brother up in the top of your screen, Mr. Andre Dillard, just achieved a master level. Arden is not incorrect. A master level black belt, 5th degree. Arden, won't you tell us what that is? Because you're much more qualified than I am to talk about that.
Well, actually, I was blessed to be there at the time. So I'm kind of I may mess up the quote, but I'm going to just kind of take it from his speech in reference to it's almost like 1 to 10%, say, depending on the situation. You can get the numbers right, Andre, that make it to black belt. Very few. Then when you start talking about to get to certain degrees, it's a whole nother small percentage of that 1% or 4% or 5-6%, whatever that is, make it to a master level. So it takes a great deal of time and discipline. And I salute. Definitely.
Andre, can you give us a few comments, my brother, on your accomplishment? We salute you, brother.
Well, first of all, I'm extremely humbled and I'm honored. Thank you very much. And really, in real talk. So, I look for inspiration from Master Smith. Right, Arden has been one of those guys that has kind of helped to push me, kind of keep me in line. And Arden is a amazing martial instructor. Like, I mean, when I talk about people who can just teach it and you get it, and it becomes so practical. So I think, as I said in my speech, real talk, like
the people who came before me as far as those black belts, and Martin is one of those guys that kind of kept me and inspired me in the art. And so, yeah, I'm just very gracious and want to continue to learn. Want to continue to learn and share out.
Congratulations. And
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
indeed.
it.
one other thing I don't want to do before we move into the bulk of the show, we want to take the time to wish our good brother, Mr. Kevin Smith, who just celebrated a birthday a couple of days ago, man. Wish him a happy birthday. Everybody wish Kevin a happy birthday.
Happy solar return, Kev.
Oh man, we got all kind of celebrations going on tonight, y'all. Listen to that.
No question.
So we'll ask the audience to congratulate Andre and to wish Kevin a happy birthday as well. So audience, you can do both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Kevin.
Thank you, man. Congratulations.
Yes, indeed. To both of you. Congratulations. Indeed.
All right. Well, look, we got a lot to cover tonight. So Cheryl said I'm seeing double images. That's on purpose, Cheryl. You're not seeing things, so you. that is by design.
Let's get it cranked.
All right, Q. Let's get moving, brother. All right.
Let's get it cranked.
Want to welcome Armand to the show. Legends of the Past and the Future show.
Peace and love.
Having time.
Just want to lay in the shade, get in those shade, you know what I mean? And pontificate on life. We vibing under the city lights. Wherever the wind go take us. If it's good, we make it contagious. And we vibing, laying on black sand beaches. Thinking of what life teaches. So glad and fall from the deep end. Said we vibing under the city lights. Wherever the wind goes take us. If it's good, we make it contagious.
Yes, sir. We are indeed vibing again tonight. And the funny part is our other partner, Kenny Adams, loved this song. I just talked to Kenny a minute ago, and he'll be back with us next week. But vibe number one, man, we're going to cover this, the redistricting map. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you really need to focus and pay attention to this right now. There's some stuff that's going on within our political system and how parties are trying to game the system and to affect our voting rights that we need to cover, and you guys need to hear and be made aware of it and see how we can fight those things. That's vibe number one. And in vibe number two, man, we're going to talk about something I was turned on to. Mimi and I were in Philadelphia on Tuesday, and I told you we were at my uncle's church, my pastor Herndon in Philadelphia, and he showed this on the screen. They talk about the Swatch watches. And we both saw this, and we were like alarmed at this. And I said, Mimi, we have to cover this on the show. So I want you guys to pay close attention to this because we got to break this down. And we got a lot to talk about, and we want your comments on it.
Remain closed tomorrow after police say a large group of people stormed the shopping center for a highly anticipated watch release. The situation became so chaotic, the mall delayed its opening, and one person was arrested. Our Eva Anderson has more.
Shoulder-to-shoulder crowds and lines wrapped around King of Prussia Mall Saturday morning as hundreds hope to get their hands on a limited release Swatch watch.
There was probably like 200 to 300 people packed in there, just trying to be like the first in line at the door.
Cole Reichert arrived at 5:45 a.m.
More people started to come. More police officers started to come.
All of the commotion was over this collection, a collaboration between an affordable brand, Swatch, and luxury watchmaker Audemars Piguet, with watches priced starting around $400. Reichert, who owns a sneaker reselling business, explains the hype.
It's taking a luxury brand and such a high value brand like Audemars Piguet and giving people the chance to buy into it at such a low price.
Some of the watches are already reselling online for thousands above retail. Upper Merion police said people attempted to get inside the mall before opening.
None of you are going in.
Police say the crowd grew increasingly defiant, prompting a massive response of about 100 officers.
Nobody was really listening when they said to move back or to like form in a line.
Police say some people tried to break down doors, and one person was arrested on trespassing related charges. The mall later delayed opening until noon and announced Swatch would remain closed.
It could have become like a stampede if they did open the doors. It would have been a free-for-all.
But when the mall finally opened, many people still lined up outside the store. A sign posted on the store door said the Swatch location would remain closed for the rest of the weekend and would no longer sell the product in store. Reichert tells me he thinks it's probably a good thing the cops showed up to control the crowds, but he thinks the brand should have done a better job of keeping things organized before it all turned into chaos.
I definitely think there should have been a wristband, a stamp, some sort of line, traffic cones.
There have also been reports of similar situations in other places. Swatch released a public statement saying in part, quote, "We kindly ask you to not rush our stores in large numbers," end quote. In King of Prussia, Eva Anderson, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, but I do want to let you guys know that King of Prussia was not the only place in which that took place. It happened in New York and several other major cities across the country. The same kind of situation took place. But there's a lot to unpack there, and I guess we'll dive into it, Len.
It is certainly a lot to unpack because it was just the messaging alone in the video was kind of, I don't know. I look at things a little differently, but just the guy being interviewed here, and it was a whole lot of our culture in the line, though, and they selected this guy to break it down. Maybe I'm just looking at it wrong, but I just, Andre, you laughing at me, brother, but you know, I'm just keeping it real on the observation point. Anyway, let's dive into the question. And y'all brothers can take this any way you want, but just on the surface, question number one, and it's not just our culture. There's a lot of cultures, I guess, in line, Kevin. You know, from what I saw, too. But why do material things often excite people more than life responsibilities? Kevin, I'm gonna start with you, brother.
I think this question is a fair assessment to ask because it's nothing new. I think we have always in our society have been able to emphasize when something new comes out, we kind of become fixated on being the first to get it or just being in the group of people who do have it, because some may feel like if I have it, I'm a part of a relevance that society validates. And if I don't have it, I'm not a part of a relevance that society may not validate it. So sometimes for some people it can be satisfying to get the material thing and to say that I got it. And then some people, they're not even aware.
Like me.
Didn't know. Me too.
Yeah. I mean,
Arden.
Well,
Arden, were you jumping in?
No, let's be real. If you kind of break it down, definitely quite a bit are what he's saying. And there are probably 20% of those people in line want to buy those shoes or whatever, the watch or whatever else to resell. You heard the spread that people were throwing out.
Okay.
It's definitely a huge resale market. When you have limited edition things, you have a lot of collectors that's going to spend all day, because they're going to make a few $1,000s on it, But, yeah, so that, and it's kind of funny how branded people have become. It's a heck of a market.
Andre, I see you smiling up there. You must got
something.
Yeah,
I'm just really thinking about, I think how I have matured over the years, right? I remember, and it's the same. I remember being younger and, get a few bucks and would go out and and want to buy something to kind of keep up with the Joneses, right? I'm just saying, like I remember getting my first car. I was like, man, I got to go buy some rims for that car, right? So it was a mentality. But getting a little bit older, you recognize that you don't have to show your wealth. You don't have to show your importance by wearing a brand. And really, when you're wearing that brand, you wind up advertising for somebody else. You don't get any kickback from it. So
Exactly.
going out and wearing all these name brand things and what have you. And I think that as a community, as a people, us trying to, like I said, put more focus on the things that are a little bit more important and not having to worry about impressing somebody. That's the other thing, is like we feel like we have to impress others, where that's not the case. When you think about these billionaires like Warren Buffett, that man is he's a miser when it comes to his money. He's got like $100 million or something like that, but he probably doesn't even go to Chick-fil-A, right? Because he's probably like, their prices are too high, right? So thinking about that, like how we spend our money and what is the reason behind it.
Marty,
It's pretty
you got a
wild.
real solid point there, because even the gentleman we knew that was a billionaire, Lenny with the insurance company. What did they say their grandfather rode around in? Ford F-150, and not a new one. This man a billionaire, but he jump out there. That's what he's gonna push, unless they're going out. But that's what he prefers to jump into. Yeah, it's just funny. People don't have to
Coming
show.
your
And I always say, if something else has to shine that you put on, that means your light just not bright. Not
not
bright
bright
enough.
enough. Wow, profound, Arden, profound statement. Um, how does social media play into this, David and Q?
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah.
Sound, David. Your sound.
There you go. Go ahead, David. My bad, I had you down.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
brother, go right ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying, a lot of people live their life on social media. I'm not sure how this particularly influenced it, because I didn't even know this watch was coming out. Maybe I'm too old,
Me.
but um, people, you know, they live their life on it. So it could have been a thing where they just want to be the first to get it. They just want to.
Yep.
It's adrenaline rush, being in the line and out there with the people. I mean, and it don't have to be material things. I mean, but y'all remember people were fighting over that Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're so right. I just want to add that what Kevin said earlier, what people have a tendency to, this wasn't new. Kevin said this is not new. And we've seen this time and time again. You made the reference to the chicken sandwich. But new iPhone comes out, people do the same thing. The latest
Jordan.
sneaker comes out, people do the same thing.
Jordans, yeah.
It's all about status symbol for a lot of folks. I want to be the first to have this, or and then show it on social media, tying it into what we're talking about. Showing it on social
That's
media. Look what I got. I got the new iPhone or whatever the case may be. But it's sad that people don't have this same type of mentality when it comes to things that are more important in their lives. And we're going
right.
to touch on that in a minute, I guess, this next question.
No,
No, that's a good place to be.
since you
Yeah.
said that, let's go there. Why do events
Yeah.
like product
Well,
launches attract more passion than people going for elections, or furthering education, or just being more knowledgeable and astute to what's going on in today's world? I'm gonna throw it to you, Art. You seem like you was about to jump in, brother.
No, I was going to let them fly, but I can definitely double dutch it. Check it. I mean, realistically, when you look at it, it's people are formed to appreciate, and it's a program. It's absolutely a program. And back to like social media, what's on your program and what you're shown over and over again. If it's brand centric, you're gonna be about the brand. But people are programmed to think of a certain way, literally. People don't want to say it, but they are, because certain things aren't talked about. Certain ways to do certain things aren't talked about. A lot of things, especially nowadays with so many things that's so important going on. I mean, people are being policed at a whole nother level. Your vote is being challenged, and ultimately, with a desire to change your ability to vote, or even your qualifications to vote. Uh,
So you're saying
it's world's going. I mean, it's just a lot of people not thinking. Like somebody said, it's funny what people are looking at instead of really like what's really going on in the world. But I think it's a real strong disconnect in America. Nothing has really affected our shores to the point where we be shook. What were you about to say?
No, I was going to say I think that also it's I think to a certain degree, and hear me out on this, people are afraid, right? People are afraid to go against the grain. They're afraid to be themselves. They're afraid to try to maybe embrace the things that maybe others might look down on, like thinking about education, thinking about empowering those within their communities. So I think that's where it comes down. People don't want to be seen as the outcast, or you're not. What do you mean you don't like this? You're not into this, And so I think that's part of it right there. And that's just not young people. That's even adults as well.
Huh. Good perspectives, both of y'all. Kevin, what were you going to add to it, Kevin?
I was definitely going to add, and I love the perspective. One of the things I was going to add to why events. What was the question again? It was.
I'll throw it back up on the screen for you. Why do events like this, people
like
gravitate to these product launches, but something more significant should be more significant? They don't. Why is that? What does that say about behavior?
To me, I think about it with marketing new music. Sometimes, if you understand how there are organizations, there are companies who want to plant a song in the atmosphere, and it could be a very bad song, but if you have enough money behind it to plant a song and play it, it would change the mind of the listener. And even if they hate the song, they recognize the song, and they also go along with the song. Remember the song, the Gangnam Style?
Yeah, I remember.
We all know that song, but at the end of the day, the people behind it strategically planted the song and kept it in front of us over and over and over until we said, okay, we either win it or we not, but we know it. And I think the difference is that sometimes with these campaign launches for these products is that there's a lot of money behind these campaigns, and people are aware, they see it more, and they think that this is the next best thing in comparison to our community, which I don't think really advocates politics as much as that we should. We only advocate voting when it's time to vote. But we don't educate the power of voting throughout the year.
Exactly.
And that's what I mean by, the comparison between the two is that when we sit on Facebook, we have an algorithm that shows up based on what we have searched, based on what we have viewed, how long we've viewed the content. The algorithm can pick up if we have viewed the content for more than 30 seconds. It is now in a formula that is going to show you something that's alike or in the same category, just because that's within your algorithm. And we have to learn how to change that if we're going to really be able to say, hey, we want our community to learn more about this. It needs to be strong enough advocates that can really, really push it, like $10 million behind it, to make sure that people are educated and know, and it becomes ingrained in them that this is important.
That's powerful. That's powerful, and it's so on point, especially the song thing. What did you say, Art?
Program director. What were you saying?
There were a couple of things that were touched on. Andre made a good point. He talked about maturity levels, and that's a big part of it too. Sometimes there's a lack of maturity, but there's also this thing that we're wrapped and sucked into this herd mentality on things. One person does it, so everybody else falls right in line. And the sad part of that is, if we would use that same focus, like we talked about, on things like education or voting, or even in our relationship with God, we use that same mentality. It could be so powerful for us in more of a positive light. But we have a tendency to make things like this, the cars, the speakers, the cell phones, and all that, we make that our God instead. And David, you might want to comment on that before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we live in a society where we sometimes like instant gratification.
Yes.
If we can get our hands on this right now, it feels good at the moment, and it serves fills some type of void temporarily,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I think when there is a movement, people will get excited. I mean, we got to look at the other side of it. That's how Obama won,
Yes.
because
Yes.
young people got excited, you know. So it does happen.
We need more of that.
Teresa said, absolutely, absolutely. Couldn't
Yeah, I
agree with her more.
agree with you, Teresa. Yep.
We have to come back and revisit that, but y'all said a lot of great points that segue into our next segment. So
Can
I'm
I
going to
say
drop
something
this.
before you move on?
Absolutely, brother. As much as
On
you
that
want.
notice, I just thought it was interesting that they said ask people not to rush the stores in large numbers. Now, how are you gonna control that? You gonna what you gonna call? Ask your neighbor, are you going? What do you mean don't rush the stores in large numbers? You don't know who's showing up.
Well, and you know what? I think also to Kevin's point, these manufacturers, they knew that people were going to show up in mobs like that, right? They knew
Right.
that. So now all of a sudden you want to scale back because you're worrying about it impacting your brand negatively. You're worrying about the negative reviews that are going to come to that mall. So now you decide you want to step back. But they knew that people were going to show up. They knew there was such a
Right.
buzz. Again, to Kevin's point, because that's something that was obviously that was pumped into that community, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get these watches. We're gonna be the first to
Right.
get there."
They could have put it online. They probably would have shut down their website.
Yep.
The business, as a business, I mean, you
Mike
hope
was hype.
people flock to your business. I don't know if
Yep.
they knew that the hype would work as well as it did. That's what I was, you know,
Mike was
people
hype.
catch you. It's like, oh yeah, it caught. We're gonna have crowds, and then you find out it's too many. It's you hope you had too many, but not like you want to
The
sell out.
funny thing of it all is they closed the store and they never sold one watch in the store that day. That's crazy.
Right.
Close it for the
So
entire
mine was a
weekend.
hype. It might was a hype thing. You know what I mean? To generate like the Popeye sandwich thing. I couldn't understand that at all. But
But one last
know.
thing I'm gonna say about this. They said any kind of news, any kind of media coverage for a company like that is good media coverage. Even though, and they probably look at it that way. Well, this will hype it up even more. This will make even more people want to have purchase this now.
It does.
So
It does. We're
unfortunately,
talking about it. I ain't know nothing about the watch.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
I know nothing about it either. All
I didn't either.
right, we're gonna keep it moving, yo.
That's 6 new
We
people.
all too old.
This is an ABC News special report.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision which could have a profound impact on the midterm elections. The justices issuing a ruling on a case out of Louisiana involving the Voting Rights Act, redistricting, and whether states must end any consideration of race when redrawing congressional maps. The decision potentially reducing the influence of minority voters and minority representation in Congress. Let's get right to our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin.
Kira, this decision is 6-3, written by Justice Samuel Alito, and it's a significant decision and a setback for the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was passed to guarantee equality in how we vote, and of course addressing the systemic and historic racial discrimination, especially across the South. This decision came in a case out of Louisiana involving a court-ordered drawing addition of a second majority black district in that state because of the size of the state's population. And the Supreme Court today, in this decision, said that the court violated the 14th Amendment by adding, the state rather, violated the 14th Amendment by adding that district. They used race impermissibly, consciously, to add a second district to aid those voters, and they said that is simply not allowed under our Constitution. Justice Samuel Alito didn't go as far as saying race can never be used in drawing these maps. That's something the court has affirmed before to comply with the Voting Rights Act, but he put a significant new limit on how courts can order states to draw their maps to be more equitable. He said that Section 2 imposes liability only when evidence supports a strong inference that the state intentionally drew its map to discriminate. So a setback for minority voters in Louisiana, and now, Kira, the impact of this decision is going to start to ripple across the country.
Let's talk about that impact and bring in our legal contributor and law professor at Hofstra University, James Sample. I mean, James, this is clearly, gutting landmark legislation here.
Absolutely correct, Kira. This is a ruling that almost completely constitutionalizes a color blindness principle to the point that even race-conscious remedies designed to remedy racial discrimination are unconstitutional under the very amendments, the 14th and 15th Amendments, that the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act were designed to make real and manifest in the country. So this is a diametrical shift in voting rights practices, a diametrical shift in the area of race and racial discrimination and the remedies for racial discrimination.
James, thanks.
Once again, a lot to unpack again. Woo!
Wow. Same clothes.
Lanny, we can't hear you.
I said somebody got a little background noise. One of you guys, if you can kind of mute yourselves until you're talking, that would be helpful. There you go. It's cleared up. Somebody did so. So look, there's a lot to unpack, like you said, Q. I have the first question up on the screen. Why are both parties, I guess, Republicans and Democrats, fighting so hard over congressional maps, and how can redistricting create long-term power shifts in Congress? And this is an open question to everybody. Just jump in, raise your hand or whatever. And David, go right ahead, brother.
I guess I'll kick it off. Why are both parties fighting so hard? Well, we're fighting because Trump started this in Texas. Had he not did that, we probably wouldn't be in a redistricting fight right now. It wasn't until he started that mess in Texas that the Democrats decided we're going to fight fire with fire, and we're going to start redistricting as well.
Anybody else want to jump in? And you're right, Kid. You're right, David. I remember that. Kevin.
Epstein files.
What'd you say, Arden?
I said Epstein files. Epstein.
Oh, this is.
I think it's if I had to choose an answer with this, it would definitely be because it's a level of control that's being, I guess, emphasized in these political parties, and trying to be able to control what's happening in the narrative, with them creating long-term power shifts in Congress. This was strategic, and I think it's just simply unfortunate. There are already a lot of people in the nation that do not have a lot of confidence in politics. So all that work and all those years, and now with this redistricting, I think just the audacity to do this, it really does shake up the nation with this. So
I think that all the years of our community advocating for voter rights and empowering people to vote, making sure people are really understand the importance of their vote, and taking away that negative mindset of my vote doesn't count, like, it's working. And now, the Republican Party is saying, oh, they're starting to come out and vote. We got to figure something out now, right? How do we now push them back down so that they aren't exercising their voice, like that they can't come out and take us out of office. So I think that's my thought, is that the work that we've put in, people before us have put in, as far as making sure voting rights are important and making sure that people understand the importance of voting, is working. And Black and brown people coming out and voting. And so now it's kind of like, oh, we got to throw a curveball now.
But it's literally overturning the 1965 Civil Rights Act. I mean, it's like,
yes,
you know, when Trump was running and Kamala was saying, you know, they kept using the playbook that they had, the 2030 plan or whatever it was. And all this was in there, and they just
25.
methodically going through one thing at a time. And I never thought I would hear them roll back Voting Rights Act to this degree, just so blatant and
But-
out in the public.
But Lenny, I think this administration is doing so many things blatantly, right? That we probably never thought that we would see, and they're just doing it, and people continue to empower, and so that's the other reason why I think, you know, that all this redistricting is happening.
Go ahead.
I just like to add to it. I like to go back to that mantra that we talk about so often on this show, and that and we got to continue to emphasize this and drill this until people really get a better understanding of this. Elections have consequences. They really do. Because of whoever's in the White House, they wield a lot of power. And look how he strategically made his choices for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was melded and molded in the way he wanted to, where they have an overwhelming majority now in the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court slants in that direction and help push all these things through for them. That's why we have to, more than ever, we have to get out and vote. I mean, it's so important, imperative. And even with the House and Senate and everything else, we can start there, but we have to get out and vote, because stuff like this, it can change the term of power for the next 5 to 10 years, easily. Go ahead, Andre.
That is.
And I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, I think it's important that we also make sure that our young people understand all of this, right? This redistricting, and even those who aren't able to vote, these 14, 15, 16-year-olds who will be voting up the next few years.
Yes.
We need to understand this because we're going to be leaning
How
towards
do you
them.
accomplish that? How do you get that message to future
So
voters? Because
I can tell you the one way we're trying to accomplish that. I know, like, a lot of our mentoring groups are doing just that. They're having conversation with a lot of these young people about the importance of vote, the power of voting, and they're understanding how people are trying to stifle their voice, and we want them to fully understand that process, and that we know that there'll be some frustration because sometimes it's not going to go the way you want it, but you still got to come out each time. You have to be just persevere.
Let me ask y'all this, and I want to.
This is a great time to teach civics.
I want you to start by responding.
I want to finish up on that. But go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I just said, to his point, teaching civics now is definitely needed, because it's not taught. They're not teaching civics at this point in time. They don't want you to know how to change the system. But we need to teach that. And it's a time where people have their ears open because children are being shocked and somebody got to mute their phone. Mute their line. But more importantly, this has been being worked on. What we just saw happen has been being worked on since the day the Voting Rights Act has got enacted. Years ago, they took Section 5 out of the Voting Rights Act, and that was the power of it. So all of those other things were allowed to happen up to this when they took out the Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act. So this has been being worked on for the last 15, 16 years when that, all of this pressure. But it's very important that people understand this is happening for a number of reasons. One, it's been the plan for a long time. Two, he needs to make sure that they have more people to control that House and the Senate, so don't nobody bring them up and force them to put all this information out. Because it's not just Trump in there. It's a lot of other people that's in those files. So
absolutely,
that it goes back to that being also another lead to make this happen. Because if not, they're gonna lose, and they know by a landslide. That's what everything looks like. He's the worst. He's got the worst polling in the history of polling in America for the president. So
it's distract.
No,
what do they call it?
I just distract. Take your right.
Well,
and if you
go right ahead.
And if you know you're gonna lose, that's why you start cheating.
That's it.
No question about it. No question about
I got three
That's
questions
it.
on the
And real
screen,
quick,
and I want.
the law in America that's probably the most uh, followed law in America is the voting. Fraud in voting is like 0.0003%. There's no other law that's probably that followed that strictly. So all of the stuff about okay, people are fraud in voting and it's been proven that's a lie. So anytime people talking about that, then means they trying to cheat anyway.
Well, that goes into these three questions. I'm gonna leave the three up here, so because I want y'all to dive into all of them. Number one says why so many Republicans support redistricting. How does it benefit them more politically? The second one says how should the Democrats challenge the maps, and could they be doing more? Because it seems like Democrats are always behind the eight ball, and it's so try to be so morally and ethically correct that sometimes they miss the mission. And then third, are both parties accused of gerrymandering, and is anyone worse than the other? So dive in, brothers.
I think it comes down to white supremacy.
How so? Explain that.
Well, they feel like they losing control. You know, there's too many brown and colored people. You know, we had a black president that pissed a lot of them off. You
And
know,
David, to add to your point, to support some of what you're saying is a lot of this is going on in mostly southern states, Louisiana, Virginia, Texas, and Republican type or where they're threatened to lose control. You know, they don't want their state to turn purple, go from red to purple, and eventually blue. So that's why this plan for redistricting is in place to keep those states propped up and in Republican hands. And losing control is a lot of what you talked about. Losing control, it frightens them, absolutely frightens them. The thought of no longer having control of this country.
Question number two. I'm gonna throw this out there to y'all because I heard this being said, and I want to see what you guys think about it. I say, what more could the Democrats do? There's a play going around right now, asking black athletes from Southeast Conference schools to boycott by not participating in their scholarships, not participating in attending those basketball and football games, to remove to boycott.
Not attend those universities. Yeah, not attend those universities.
What do you guys think about that? Because this throwing a lot at the hands of an 18 to 22-year-old that's trying to make life decisions and just getting out there in life. What do you guys think about that? Or is there any other options that we could do, Andre?
I would just say I think to your point, Lenny, that is a lot to throw on a young person. Here it is. We tell these young people, go to school, get an education, so you can go out here and be a change maker. But at the same time, now we're saying, you might have to forfeit a game, which means that might play into your scholarship, right? So I think that we have to be mindful of what we're asking people and really think it through. Now, I think there's some merit to what they're saying, but really think about how is this really going to impact that student or those students. I just saw something where there was a young lady on something, and she was talking about LSU in particular, and saying that all athletes at LSU should be boycotting and not going out there and playing for that particular school. But I think it's something that it needs to be a lot more thought behind that, what it looks like and how it will negatively impact those students, because we don't want that as well either.
I think part of the game
People always want somebody else to sacrifice.
What's that?
Go
ahead, Andre, fast.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, go ahead, bro. You good?
What I was saying was that I think that part of the game plan, not so much as them boycotting games, but the thought process is to have those African American athletes not attend those schools, to choose other schools rather than matriculating to those schools, rather than missing games. Because if you follow SEC football and sports in particular, nothing they love more than winning, and they put winning before everything. Football and sports are a religion down there. That's their god down there. And
Yeah.
and one of the ways you can affect them is by losing some of those great athletes to other schools and other regions that don't uh, have the same mindset that they have. That would drive them crazy. So I can see how that could be effective. But it's a lot of pressure, Andre, as you said, to put on
Yeah.
a 15-year-old in a decision that's their future.
Because I think even and Q, that's a very good point. But I think even choosing some of those schools, right? Because then now you got to think about, like, was the school I was initially was going to go to, was that just from a financial standpoint, was it going to be easier for me because it's closer and you know, those kind of things. And now I'm going to have to think about going to a school that might be 3, 4, 5 hours away, and you know that's going to be a hardship as far as. So I think that, you know, it is definitely something to consider and think about, but we want to make sure that we really think about the full impact and how, and I think to Arden's point, how it's going to impact those students. So, but we gotta figure out something, right? We gotta, but I think it is also, that's a good way for young people to be involved in this. But I think it needs to be something where we're protecting them as well.
Good point. Look, they have two tactics in this thing. One of it's called cracking, and another one's called packing. And I'm not familiar with these terms at all. So, if somebody is on the panel, I'm sure some of the listeners aren't as astute to these terms. Are any of you guys?
Well, I know a little about it. I did a little research on it. And David, do you want to make a comment before I do? Go ahead.
No, you got to go ahead. I was going, but you got it.
Cracking is kind of like splitting the vote. That's what they try to do. It's a strategy, more or less. It's like splitting a community of votes to lessen the impact. You know, instead of having all the block in one particular area, they want to split that vote, spread it out to lessen the impact and the chance of a person of color, or whatever the case may be, or Democrat, whatever the case may be, to win that area. We have a prime example in Maryland, over Eastern Shore. There's a senator named Andy Harris. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his name or not. Andy Harris won that district easily for the last 20 years because of some gerrymandering that's gone on there and how they split the vote. And he wouldn't allow some of the votes from the Baltimore City area or some of the more ethnic full areas count in his district. And that's a way of keeping him in power. And because that gives them representation in the state. So that's a part of what cracking is right there. Cracking is kind of the reverse of that.
Yeah, packing is the reverse.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, it's cramming us in one district or one area so that we're less effective on the other areas.
Exactly. It pulls away from those other areas, and it could hurt downline ballots is who it could really hurt. Arden always like to talk about downline ballots, and that type of thing discourages that. Discourages the strength of downline ballots and things.
Basically cheating then.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. It's like
according to the Supreme Court, it's legal at this point, and it's unfortunate. But once again, I go back to that Supreme Court. How it's made up. The Supreme Court is made up. That's the big kicker right there. If the Supreme Court, the dynamics and the makeup of that was different, some of this legislation would not get through or could be challenged. As it is now, challenging it is almost impossible because they're already in the pocket for Trump.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask everybody a question. I know it's not on here. It's kind of out of left field. Do you think that people should protest the Supreme Court and the judges on the Supreme Court? I mean, you know how you protest the president when you don't like it and whatever else. But what if like 400,000 people showed up outside of the Supreme Court, people's house, or you know what I mean, or outside the court? How would that? You know what I'm saying? Is that a push?
I mean, it could.
You know, you come outside and it's 50,000, 60,000 people outside your house, and like,
doing that is one thing. Doing that is one thing. The effect that it would have in changing things is something else altogether. Because
it's a little different pressure when people in your face.
Yeah, it's it's they say a lifetime appointment, but they can be impeached. But it's basically a lifetime
Indeed.
appointment unless you catch them in something illegal or something like it's hard to get them removed from office. But the
You mean
protests,
like Clarence
from
Thomas
a practical
taking money?
standpoint,
Exactly. Clarence Thomas has done a million things, Q.
yes,
There's a
exactly,
couple of them. This is
yes.
basically it's a few of them. Yeah. So check that.
Look,
So impeachment.
our biggest concern is really impact on African American communities. I'm just keeping it real, and we got to be unabashedly unashamed to just speak for pro black communities, and not hold back anything because if you do, then you just bloviating and you're just not really helping your cause. So sometimes you just got to bring the truth to power, speaking straight to the face. Andre, talk about that a little bit.
So I just think, and to your point, Lenny, I think so. We're hearing terminology that I know I've never heard of before. Packing and all these different things. And when people think about gerrymandering, we have got to be very intentional about teaching, or I can't say this enough, teaching our young people this stuff, right? Like everybody who's listening to this show needs to make sure that you talk to one or two, three young people and teach them these terminologies, teach them about gerrymandering, teaching about redistricting. I know when I'm in the schools, I often ask the students, tell me something, a current event that you guys are thinking about, right? And a lot of them don't think about politics, right? Because again, we're trying to change that mindset, mind shift of like, well, my vote doesn't matter, or I don't need that. I leave that for somebody else. No, we need you to know about these things because you're going to be voting one day, and we need you to encourage your other friends and peers about voting. But I think they need to be educated, and they need to know all of these different things that go on with voting, not just going there and casting the vote, not just going and doing the research on the various candidates, but knowing about how people try to enforce voter suppression, right? Because this is all part of voter suppression, right? So they need to understand all these different terminologies. At the end of the day, it is voter suppression so that one group can be in party and they can keep others down. But our young people have to get this.
Yep.
Hey, I got a question for each of you. I'm gonna start with you, Q. Need some specific questions just for you, so let me just take those off the screen so we can. What role can we play in voter turnout, Q? What can we do there?
That's our strongest suit card at this point. That's our strongest card right now. And we talked about that already, but we absolutely have to get out and vote. We can't continue to make excuses because if we do make excuses and not turn out at the polls, then these are the type of things that it leads to. It's a residual effect to this. There's a cost, to elections. As we keep saying, we got to keep drilling at home. But voter turnout and getting out to vote is the most effective tool that I think we have at this point right now. And it can't be emphasized enough. We absolutely got to get
how do you get young people that's not, they don't think it's important? How do you get them there?
Well, we have to start educating it in the same way. We know some of the same things we talked about previously. Kevin and David and Arden brought it up. The same way the marketing was taking place for the Swatch and some other things. We have to have a program come up. Somebody's smart enough to come up with some kind of campaign. And they had one earlier, a few years back. We used to have a voter campaign for young guys. But we need to come up with a campaign that motivates young people to want to take part in the process and showing them the importance and how it can be a real benefit for them. We have to show them that it's a real benefit for them to do so. People are driven by what they can get out of something. If we can show them how important it is, what they can derive from voting, then we're on the right path right there. We just have to drive that home, though, with a package and a plan.
It's called whiffing. It's called what's in it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Who is that?
I really
Kevin
think
or
that's me. I really do think that it takes some strategy. We really have to continue to educate ourselves, and I know that Andre could piggyback on this, on the evolution of how children learn these days, and where we're meeting them. This generation is not the same generation.
No.
Maybe I'll speak for myself, and then and then you all speak for yourselves. But this generation has evolved at a whole different level of retaining information and also accepting new information. And sometimes we have to be so strategic that we have to simplify things to meet them where they are, where they would get the message in whatever form that is able to be retained by them. So
Perfect.
even if it's an organization that sponsors one of the hottest rap singers or the rap stars to come in and hold a concert, and then the message of the concert is the power of voting. We talk about how the kids are on Roblox and all these things, and you have a game intervention, and they all come there to talk about Roblox, but then in the message of the power of voting. Sometimes we just have to be just that strategic with this
Yeah,
generation.
Creative. Okay, I see what you're
yeah,
saying. Very creative. Very creative. I
Yeah,
got you.
just to get the message to them. Because even this conversation, this is going to an audience that doesn't involve children. So we're speaking more to the audience that has children, and we're saying, "Hey, talk to your kids," which is a great avenue. But some parents aren't talking to their kids about politics and current events. So sometimes it's easier to get kids together where they're able to fellowship, and just like in school, most kids learn in school. They learn with other children. They learn when other children are sitting down and listening, or if they're gravitating to an activity. So I just think we just have to be strategic, and then really just ingrain it in them.
Love
good
that answer.
thoughts. Excellent thoughts.
Andre, I had a question for you, and you can respond to what Kevin just said as well. But my question to you directly is, why is local politics involvement becoming even more important than national politics? Because Arden loves this, and he always preaches this. But go ahead,
Well,
Andre.
because I think, I mean, I agree because you got to start from home, right? It has to start from home base first, right? And we gotta implement change right in our own community first before we can think about the national level. And I think this is also where young people can have the biggest impact on this local level, right? I was at Annapolis High School, and we were having a conversation about the fact that Annapolis now has a new mayor. I asked those young people, how many of you know the name of our new mayor? Not one of them could answer that question. Not one of
Wow.
them. And I said to them, like, and this is the individual who is making a lot of decisions that's going to impact you. It's going to impact your families. So you have got to be aware of this, whether you can vote or not. So, I think, and yeah, that's a big one. But I think also to Kevin's point, right, about and I have to kind of go back to this, but I think he's so right about the messenger, right? We young people respond to certain individuals different. It's even like with my own children. I could tell my sons one thing, right? And I could tell, and then Arden can come along and tell them the exact same thing. And guess what? They're gonna take his words as like, oh, what he said is so powerful, right? So it's all about the messenger and being very intentional about who we are going to get to try to speak on these different things. But now I'm going to go back to, but yeah, I agree with Arden. I think that the local vote is so very important. And I think even those who are voting, we often don't think about the importance of the local vote, right? We don't do our research and think about the importance, but I think that we are all seeing now that it is important. And who we put in office in the local office and impact us down the road as well.
Yeah, I feel you, man. But I think it's funny that if you want to bring people in, young people in. I don't really think it's a real hard pitch to get young people. It's just somewhat rather simple. And Kevin said it. Bring some artists, bring people that they rock with, and have conversations with people, and you edify other people. So whoever you think is brilliant as far as leadership is concerned, you bring them into the conversation with other articulate artists and players and whoever they see in the limelight that they aspire, you bring those ones of like mind, of responsibility, focus, um, service, and voting, and those type of standards, and you have them articulated with somebody else, and y'all having a conversation and start creating plans like that. including young people. A lot of times people make decisions and they tell young people. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. We wasn't trying to hear it when we was young. So I know they ain't trying to hear it. So it's realistically, it's got to be a conversation. We want to tell somebody something. Boy, listen
right.
down, listen to me now. I'm gonna tell you. Yeah, tell me, but listen at the same time, or you don't know what they going through. So I definitely think it's really not difficult to get young people to the table. It's going to take some capital. It's going to take some sacrifice, but there's no movement without sacrifice. There's a moment, you can have a moment, but there's no movement without sacrifice. And, you know, I have to say, what my brother Joe,
Joe
brother
Madison.
Joe would say, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? I ain't saying you gotta fix everything, but what are you gonna do about it? And that's a question for all of us, because all of us doesn't have to do a great deal, but we do have to do something.
Right, and
And
that's what
I
he said.
definitely want to salute Master Andre Dillon, because part of that mastery was being useful in our community. And I'll take my hat off to that brother, because he's not born in Annapolis and he's done more for Annapolis than a lot of people I know. But that type of, you know, character makes him a master as far as I'm concerned.
Mm.
And I know,
Amen.
going back to something, just connect
David.
Amen.
that type of thing. That's what I.
Amen, brother. Great comments, man. You always so profound, brother. I guess that's why you're on the show, but your knowledge is a lot of wisdom in what you just said, Art. Appreciate that. David, coalitions helped Obama to win because he galvanized several communities for voter results. So, how do we align our concerns? Because often here, people say, that ain't black people fight when ICE was out there. They ain't their fight. But Joe Madison had another saying too, and we like to quote Joe because Joe was strong with his words and true
Yes,
and
sir.
correct. Joe said they came for the Jews. You said they ain't me. They came for another community. You said they ain't me. They came for the women. You said they ain't me. Then they came for you. You ain't want to help nobody, so wasn't nobody there left to help you. So galvanizing communities. I know I kind of messed that up a little bit, but galvanizing communities, how do we do that? Oh my phone. All right, stop laughing. Are you muted, David? Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, unmute
I
yourself.
said,
Go ahead, brother.
yeah, and they always came for us. ICE might not have been, but the police and the rest of them. So I don't know even know why they thought you,
How about
You
I'll
right.
agree
you
with Joe. They were always
yeah,
coming for
always coming for us.
us.
But we gonna have to find a way to come together like we did during the civil rights movement. We need to find a way to support each other, to make sure we're communicating with each other. Because right now we don't have a leader like Martin Luther King, to pull everybody together who we're following.
Yeah,
Who are we
galvanize everybody.
following right now in the black community? Who is it?
Yeah, it was no standout leader at this point.
I
No.
mean, the strongest voice is Obama, but he's somewhat, basically out of politics.
Right. And he's a part of the system.
Right. I was
Yeah,
going
it's
to say
true
he's
too.
not truly the black leader as far as that's concerned. And
Right.
and who's to say that we shouldn't challenge the fact that being leaders ourselves and not waiting for some one entity to do something, but independently we end up like the blockchain, where everybody's a leader and leading in 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 a way where it's a checks and balances. Because here's the question that I always want to ask: all of this going on, there's going to be a great big huge blue wave of, say, democratic. A lot of things going to turn purple or blue or whatever else. But what are we asking for? And this is the conversation I haven't heard had by anybody. What are we asking for? Yeah, we want to redo certain things. Certain things we want to improve. We don't just want what it was. We want the Voting Rights Act with, Chapter 5 or Section 5 and everything else on it. But what else do you want? as a people, what do you want? Because they're going to need your vote to change these things.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what's the call? And
Great point,
that's
Art.
that's the that's the real piece. Because so what, you get these people in midterm if they don't do what you need done, because they could run the same play. Because
You know,
guess
one of
what?
the
The same people giving them money gave the Republicans money.
Well,
Businesses that want to
it,
win either way. So some
it's up
people
to
are
the
owned by both sides. So what do we want is a real big question I have. Q.
it's up to the electric to decide what they want and to hold the elected officials' feet to the fire to demand that they get that. And
Well, we
that's
are
why
the elected.
going back to what he just said earlier, coalitions are so important because coalitions can game plan exactly what they want. This is we're putting you in office because we're mandating we want this change. This particular, we have to be very intentional, as the word has been thrown around a couple of times tonight, about what we want. And said
Yeah.
the only reason
What's
we're
that?
voting is putting you in office, and whatever it may be, according on what each individual need is, that we have to be intentional about emphasizing. This is why we're putting you in office. We want you to cover better health care. We want you to cover more help for disadvantaged youth. Whatever the cause is, we have to put that and push forward with that in a major way.
Yep.
Correct. And that's my point. Definitely
Yes,
made the point that I'm talking
yes.
about. But if the conversation needs to happen here or maybe on another date, but that conversation needs to be had. And guess what? We are the people. So, and that's why I said people need to lead themselves, and we'll go in a good place, because you need to think about what's going to be good for you. I need to think about what's going to be good for me. Andre, same thing. And the bottom line is there's going to be a lot of like things as far as that's concerned, and we can all agree on these things. Those should be on the list. But what I'm saying is that a list needs to be made long before November. Kevin?
great point. Kevin,
Yep.
question for you, brother. How can
Yes,
African
sir.
Americans reshape political power long term? What can we do? Arden said we
So,
need a list. What can we do?
I, I was going to say, Arden spoke a lot about this question, and some of it really gears to the point he made as challenging us as all individual leaders. I can agree with Dave that there's typically in our political environment right now, we don't really have a Martin Luther King to facilitate and guide us, but we do have the legacy of Martin Luther King that still lives within us. And if we are understanding of our history and the power within us, then we have to learn that we have to trigger and ignite that power in us, the grassroots leaders behind us, so that we are bold enough to continue legacy. And that is really going to be able to reshape how much we really do speak up. There's so many African Americans locally that has said, I'm not voting. Why? Why am I voting? And some of that is they don't trust in the system anymore. They understand that there's a system that doesn't hear them. And that takes a lot of more rebuilding in us as leaders and reproducing leaders.
Yes.
Because we need it. We need to reproduce leaders, people that are bold to understand the history, understand the climate where we are right now, and then how we can reshape and project the future.
And
Uh,
I think it's important to have a leader because, see, Martin Luther King, he was able to get into the White House and have meetings with these people. We all can't go into the White House and have a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to sit down with the president. He wasn't a politician, he didn't hold office, but he had enough power and influence to be able to get in there at the table and have meetings and and ignite change. We can't all walk
Right.
in there and have a meeting.
yeah, they're
That's
In
why
addition
leadership.
to
tremendous
that,
power.
I think we
At
need
that,
to raise up other politicians like Kevin was saying.
Yep, I
Andre,
agree with you.
So I
Andre,
think,
jump in there.
as far as that question you just asked, Kevin, I want to go back to something Arden said. I think it was a very, very good point. we need to make sure that we are giving our young people a voice and we're listening to them, right? Because we want them to be able to contribute to what those things are that we need. And I think also to the point of the leaders is we can cultivate these leaders, and it won't be one leader starting with our young people, right? But we need to empower them, hear their voice, make sure they understand the importance of voting, and make sure the importance of being involved in politics, so that we can grow leaders across the country in all of our communities.
Agreed.
Right. Definitely.
And we have to let them know, like, nobody ever showed me that it was possible to become a politician. Like I got into a lot of arguments. Like I can debate something. You know what I mean? I stood up. If somebody had told me I could have honed that into being a politician and changed, I might have already had an office or something.
There you go. Well, you know one good thing though, brethren, it ain't no age limit on politicians. You could
You're
be
right.
one tomorrow, man. We can write
Certainly
you
not
in.
these days. Certainly not these days, Lord. See, we got a
True.
79 running around the White House
Old
right now.
decrepit president we
You
got
don't
right
even
now.
have to have political
You so
background
true.
experience these days.
That's a good point.
But Andre, one thing I want to mention is that there are some. All hope is not lost. I see people like Michelle Fidel and people like that, young people like that coming up, who could be potential political leaders in the future. So all hope is not lost. It's
Great
not
point,
lost.
Q. Great point.
We need to continue to cultivate and to pour into the youth, and so that they can shape and mold them so they can move forward and carry this fight on. So that's what we need to do.
Yeah. I see a real shape, man. I see a flood of consciousness coming through our culture, man. I'm looking at young people all the time. And it's here, actually, but it's going to pick up momentum, for sure.
Amen. All right, brothers.
Well,
Look,
good,
this is a
healthy
conversation this is just one conversation of many as we lead down the road to the elections in November. We just need to educate, and we need to. It starts with awareness, I think, and this is part of what we're trying to do in our community. Good brothers over here, David and Kevin, doing it for the culture.
Yes, sir.
Really bringing information out. Support their website. Won't you guys kind of drop a plug real fast so folks can know where to find you?
For the culture, the number 4, thecultureannapolis.org. And you can find For the Culture Annapolis on Facebook. Follow us, share, and stay tuned.
Amen. Because I know you guys are going to have a lot of things leading up to this. Andre, what do you want to leave the people with?
I think I want to leave the people with, let's empower these young people. While we're still educating ourselves, let's empower these young people.
Yeah.
Amen.
Love it. Arden Q.
What are?
Hey, man, well, shoot, I want to thank everybody that showed up and that's showing up later on. And you might not even have seen it yet, but you just showed up Tuesday, next Tuesday, whatever you Tuesday. Thank you for checking us out. We appreciate your presence. Peace and love.
I just want to thank our audience, man, our very, very loyal audience, and how they stay with us every week. But next week, I want to get to you. Next week, David has introduced me to his gentleman we're going to have on next week, Mr. Clement Troutman, who is a black business owner, and we're going to. Kevin, you know you're familiar with him, as very much familiar with him as well. He's going to be our special guest on. He may be on for maybe half the show or maybe even the whole show. We'll see how it shakes out. But he's going to be one of our special guests next week, and we're going to have him. And we have some other people coming on in the future who are real difference makers. And that's what we want to continue to bring you difference makers and give you knowledge and things that you to advance your own lives. So that's our goal and agenda. Arden, take it away, brother.
Right? Peace and love, y'all. L, got to say something for the people, L. Don't hit us with the God bless you, good night. But hit us up.
Oh, I want to thank your mom, man. I want to thank special shout out to Pam Smith, because she always watches our show, and I always get a notice, Facebook notice from a comment from her, well after the show is over. It'd be like Friday or something like that, or on a weekend.
She always catch the repeats.
Yeah, she catch the repeat. So it's the fact that you don't have to watch it live. You can share this on your page, because it might be meaningful to you, or you might be well versed in what we're saying, but somebody else might not be there. Might be in one of your friends' group. So share information, and so because we need a lot of work out here, man. If you knew some things going on inside of most of our home city of Annapolis, you would be shocked and appalled at something going on at the city government office. And we just got a new city government office in. And I'm going to leave it right there. That's a teaser. And I'm going to have somebody on here to really explain something to you about that. That made an earth-shaking announcement about our community today. And I'm just going to let you connect the two. And then we're going to come back and talk about this. All right?
Y'all
So
go
good
back
night.
to that. Hey,
It's
if
about to
folks
be
didn't matter,
stirred.
they wouldn't be trying to take it. For sure.
Deuces.
All
Peace
right,
and love.
Kevin and David. For the
For the
culture,
culture,
baby. For
Culture,
the
baby.
culture.
For the culture.
That's
Let's
what's
do it for
up.
the
Good
culture.
night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all. Thank you, gentlemen.